it's prevalent.
Yeah,
Drug and alcohol is prevalent.
So let me even touch on that from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
So people have no idea. You talk about like they don't know what's going on in their own county or city. Guys who are in law enforcement, obviously you see a different side of society because of things you have to deal with. But people have no idea that like drug addiction will go from $1 million homes to the person under the bridge.
It ain't just homeless people.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why a lot of people got, and this is undeniable, but the reason why a lot of people got addicted on heroin is because they got prescribed all these, pain meds when they had something done to them, and then now all of a sudden they're addicted to those pain meds and they can't get those pain meds anymore. Maybe they are getting them, but just not in the right way.
Yep.
And then before you know it, now they're moving over to heroin and other things.
Yep.
I mean,
that happens regularly,
all the time.
All the time.
The majority of the people that we haven't fixed, that's how it happened.
Yeah, and then you got people. I mean, I might step on toes saying this, but because they go to a doctor and they prescribe them medication,
it's totally fine.
They are completely addicted.
Yep.
And they're looking at the people that are using the narcotics off the street, going, "Oh, look at that drug addict." And they got the same exact problem.
Just because a doctor wrote you the prescription doesn't mean you're not addicted.
That's right.
And that's where we see a lot of people are in denial.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's like how many I mean, I'm not one of those guys that just defends cops wholesale as if cops can never do anything wrong. I mean, there's been plenty of stories of cops who have gotten hurt on the job.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they go to the doctor. Now, you know what I mean? They had to have surgery on their knee, on their arm or something. Now all of a sudden they got Percocet or Vicodin or Oxycontin or, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden now they're like,
and then one day, you just, what happens is you cross this invisible line.
Yeah.
And once you cross it,
you can't go back.
You can't get back, and I think, a lot of people I watch use, especially opiate-based painkillers.
Yeah.
That are prescribed by a doctor, and they abuse them, but they have this denial about them having even the issue or problem.
Well, because it's in a pill bottle.
Right.
It's legitimate.
And it's got their name on it.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah, the doctor gave me that, Fred.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Like addiction is like legitimately you are dependent on it. You can't stop it.
Right.
You know?
Give me the pill bottle for 24 hours and let me come back and see where you're at.
Yeah.
Right? I can stop whenever I want to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, well, why don't you just leave it then?
Yeah, just leave it then.
Yeah.
Because I want to take it.
Yeah.
Pain's a real thing, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what people like. They don't know until they get relief from that pain. Mm-hmm. That's why I got hurt my knee at work last February. So not this past February, the February before.
Yeah.
Okay. Had a guy pull a gun on me, and in order to get away from it, I slipped and fell on basically the asphalt.
Right.
Hit my knee. Didn't feel it at the time because obviously my adrenaline's like through the roof.
Right.
Whatever, situation's resolved, adrenaline dump, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, my knee's starting to hurt.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh yeah, I did fall. Well, then the next day it's like swelling up. So I go to the doctor and all this stuff, and that was my concern.
Yeah.
Is I was like, I'm going to see what this doctor says, because if he wants to put me on certain pain meds, like I might have to pass these off to Chelsea and be like, you're going to regulate these.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
I don't want to even tempt myself.
Above reproach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's like, any cop pretty much knows that you're gonna develop back pain.
Yes.
And you're gonna live with it.
Yep.
Because of all the gear you have to wear.
Yeah.
And it's like
in and out of cars, riding in the car all day.
Sitting in the car all day, all that stuff when your hips, and it's like you start to live with the pain. And then all of a sudden, after like 10 years living in that pain, all of a sudden, you whatever, your elbow starts hurting, you go to the doctor, you get you some pain, and then you're like, oh man, my whole body feels good.
Right.
And then you're like,
good.
Man,
I'm ready to work.
Yeah. And so people don't understand, like, pain's a big thing.
Yes.
And when you get relief from that pain, that's the addiction.
Yeah. And I'm sure in your profession too, like the mental things that y'all go through, no different than like, a pastor, like what you deal with. The stress.
PTSD, like a constant.
And like, I know, like from my own experience, you got to be careful because those same drugs will numb your mind too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like give you this false sense of peace, and that's just, you got to be careful. So
Yeah, I mean, alcohol's a drug, right?
yeah,
I mean, I can tell you how many cops like just are dependent on alcohol because it's legal.
yeah, it's legal.
Oh, it's legal, right? So it's all good.
It's
Yeah.
the worst.
Don't
It's
get me
terrible.
started.
That was the worst for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got more
alcohol is
trouble on
bad.
alcohol than I did heroin.
I had a guy, I had a cop
Yep.
tell me this one time. He said, this is like a couple years ago, and I know Virginia's moved to a point where basically marijuana is decriminalized, right? It's not legal yet.
Right. Mhm.
Probably will be pretty soon, but it's decriminalized. There's a
Yeah.
civil penalty for just simple possession.
Yeah.
Right? But this was a couple years ago when it was still a class 1 misdemeanor. And he was like, I'd never been to a domestic where the people were high on weed,
Yeah. Right.
but I have been to countless where they're drunk.
Probably uncountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a valid point, And now he was not arguing
Right. He wasn't
to
saying,
legalize marijuana.
Yeah. He was just making a statement.
He was just like, if you really think about it,
Yeah.
we had this
got a
thing.
point.
We got
He's
this
got
thing
a
called
point.
alcohol, but because it's legal, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then weed is all of a sudden now this like horrendous thing.
Right.
So go back to like people in the church, right?
Right.
How many people in the church drink? How many people in the church probably get drunk?
Yes.
Oh, I'm in my home or what,
Yeah.
I'll have the glass of wine with dinner. No, you
Yeah.
don't. You drink 4 Budweisers.
Yeah.
So you got that, but because
Yeah.
it's not out there, you're not on YouTube about it or whatever. You didn't get arrested for it because it's not illegal to get drunk in your house unless you do something stupid, right?
Yes.
But then that 18-year-old who comes to youth group who smells like weed,
Right.
you almost think he's unsavable.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be hard, and this is something that's dear to my heart because I think in a lot of churches there is a culture of drinking,
Oh yeah.
and it's okay. Like, I've seen people post pictures of them at the brewery partying with friends, and certain pastors that condone that behavior, and like you got to understand, like where I come from and what I see alcohol that devastates and ravishes families.
Yup.
And my family's one of them.
Yeah.
And I've seen the horrors that come from it. And I think if you take a very honest look, like at even Christian families, there's not a family that has not been touched by alcoholism.
Absolutely.
So for me, like I have to be a teetotaler on that. Now I'm not saying that drinking's a sin,
Yeah.
but there's a line, and why do we want to tiptoe on that line? And then once you condone that type of behavior, when it does legalize marijuana, how do you differentiate between
do
the
you?
two?
How do you?
And then maybe one day they make something else legal.
Yeah.
I don't see, if you don't draw a line there, compromise, little compromises.
Christians have to understand our morality is not based on what the legality is of
Yes.
That's it.
whatever society we live in.
Yes.
You know? I mean,
Yeah.
abortion's legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
But if you're a Christian, you cannot support abortion.
Right.
There is no other stance on
That's
that.
not even-
There's
yeah.
no
Right.
other Christian stance on that.
Like I look at through like stories in the Old Testament where alcohol is involved and it never turns out well.
It's always bad.
Isn't
It's
it?
always bad.
Yeah.
Like Lot, and I mean, it's just
And I'm sure somebody might be listening to the section and be like, "Well, Jesus turned water into wine,"
right,
and it's
yeah.
like, okay, well, first of all, go study.
yeah.
All right, it doesn't say it was alcoholic.
Right.
Okay, and second of all, there's plenty of other reasons to
Jesus didn't
not
drink. It didn't say
Yeah.
Jesus drank it. And and then like you look at David and Bathsheba, like he used alcohol in that
Yeah.
whole story. You know what I mean? It's like,
Noah got drunk out of the ark, and then
Yeah.
look what happened with his kids.
yeah, it's just
Go
It's a
back to
constant issue.
Proverbs. I think
Yeah.
it's Proverbs 25
Somewhere in Proverbs, yeah.
where it talks about being a drunkard and it's
yeah. And I go back to Lot. I always go back to Lot, and his
yeah.
wife, and all that, because I mean, like a man who can drink without impunity, like a father at the table, it doesn't affect him. It doesn't have any consequences. But he's got a small son or a daughter that watches him do that day after day after day.
Yep.
I can't, like, this guy might not ever struggle with alcohol, but the little sister, my daughter, might grow up
to be an alcoholic.
and might be a raging alcoholic. So like, I'm not going to take that chance. Like,
Chelsea and I have talked about this, and we're the same way, right?
Yeah.
Like we're like, look, if you're a Christian and you drink, we're not going to sit here and condemn you. We're not going to
Yes.
say you're living a life of sin. That's not.
Yes.
But we don't drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, she's agreed with me on that, and you know, we take the same exact stance. We're on the same exact page with it.
Right.
The risk far outweigh any
Yeah.
quote
benefit.
The benefit.
reward. I don't even reward's not even a good word for it.
Right.
But I again, so you brought up a perfect example. I can't tell you how many strong Christian couples
Yes.
I have seen do that exact thing, right?
Yep.
They're the ones who are in the church teaching the Sunday school, might be an elder in the church,
Yep.
you know, a preacher, whatever. I mean, they are solid. They know the Bible. They love
Yeah.
people, blah, 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 but they have their drinks.
Yes.
All of a sudden, look at their kids when the kids turn 16, 17, 18, 20 years old.
they-
And those kids are now not. Why? Because they love that joy of alcohol more than they love following after Christ.
Right. And see, you take away your witness with your children too, because like, you know, I have a parents come to me and say my son's a junkie, he's this and that, but they're drinking, and like you take away any. Like, because I know the kid. I was a kid one time. Well, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
It's hypocritical.
Yeah,
It's
you're a
hypocritical.
hypocrite then.
How are you going to tell me I can't smoke weed
Right.
when you have 4 beers with dinner?
Yeah.
One of those types of things.
So I think you got to weigh, like you said.
I just don't see a benefit to it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, some people are like, "Oh, I enjoy it," or whatever makes you feel good. There's that, and I'm just like, how many negatives can we list off? You know, and is it like you said? You have to think about so many more things. It's not just about you. It's about
That's
your
it.
kids. Maybe it's about your spouse. Your spouse,
Yeah.
right? It's about your witness to not only other people in the church. You know, maybe people who are coming out of addictions and stuff like that. But what about people who aren't Christians who view you?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like at the end of the day, Paul said that he would give up meat
Yeah.
if it causes his brother to stumble. And I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to apply that like if somebody thinks something is wrong, you're not allowed to do it. That's not what
Right.
that passage is talking about.
Right.
But what I am saying is if your witness is hurt by something that you're doing, and it's a freedom. Let's just classify it as a
It's a
freedom,
freedom,
right?
right.
Like we're not saying, oh, your witness is hurt because
Right.
you said online that abortion's evil.
Right.
Right.
Well, too bad. You know, you're going to have to take a stance on that. But
Yeah.
if your witness is hurt because you wear the color blue, then don't ever wear the color blue again.
Right. That's it.